Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Joining us in the studio today is Jesse Gilmore. He's here to talk about how to scout plants for problems. Welcome to the show. And we were just talking about this. This is something pretty important that people need to be aware of.
Yeah, I have been called out to a lot of plants recently, and almost all of them have gotten to the point where they are either dead or about to die. So I wanted to give a couple of tips today on how to scout plants for problems before they become serious, so that you have a better chance of keeping your plants alive throughout harsh conditions. So when you're scouting for plants, typically your eyesight and your memory are going to be the two best assets that you have in order to see problems as they are developing instead of after they have developed. So in general, when you're scouting for plants, there's a few symptoms to keep an eye out for. The first is really easy, it's stunting. Now, you're usually not going to see stunting of woody plants in particular. Typically, your stunting is going to be more for herbaceous plants or for fleshy stemmed plants. But this is really easy to notice, especially if you have healthy plants growing right next to the stunted plants. And typically, when your plants are stunted, that's going to be an environmental issue, either a nutrient deficiency or a water issue in that particular part of the garden. One other symptom that you can look out for is discoloration. That's typically going to signal some kind of disease or nutrient deficiency. Diseases usually flare up after really heavy rains or really wet, humid conditions because 90% of plant diseases are fungal in nature, and so those conditions are what make it worse. So that's where your memory comes into play. If you start seeing a problem flare up after a heavy rain or high humidity, you can assume that it is a disease-related issue. Nutrient deficiencies do also cause discoloration. That's typically going to be in the form of what is known as chlorosis, or yellowing of the leaves. And so if you start to see yellowing, it's usually nutrient related, and sometimes you will have to bring in a soil sample and see what nutrients might be running low for your soil and potentially fertilize to keep the plant as stress-free as possible. Because when you're dealing with environmental issues and bug issues and water issues, those stack together and make each additional stress worse in the plant. And so a stressed out plant is more likely to have bugs infested. It's more likely to just completely die off for no reason. I've been called out to a lot of oak trees and a lot of maple trees that are actually suffering from delayed drought stress from last year.
Wow. So we're just about out of time, but if folks, if they have questions, if they're running into issues, where can they go to get some help?
Yeah, so they can go to any extension office that's going to be through your land-grant university in Arkansas, University of Arkansas, in Missouri, University of Missouri, in Oklahoma, Oklahoma State University, and in Kansas, Kansas State University. And every county is going to have one. So if you have any plant-related questions, they would be who you should call.
All right, Jesse, thanks so much for coming in. Of course, if you missed any of that, we'll have it on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll be back with more right after this.